Good afternoon, everybody. Robert Weichelt for another More Listings Mastermind, a real estate podcast. We meet weekly every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific for Eastern. Our goal is to provide power, growth, and momentum, and it all starts with this week, More Listings Mastermind. Why would you want to join the More Listings Mastermind each week? Well, I tell you, we have great guests coming from all over the country, different specialties in your real estate business. But it's simple to take more listings in 2026. That is the goal. Each week, we provide proven systems to win more listings, generate multiple offers fast. That's what sellers want, by the way. They want the highest and best price in the shortest amount of time. We're going to maximize the seller profits. They always want the most amount of money. I can tell you this. I've never met with a seller that said, Robert, if you can get me the least amount of money for my home, that would be great. Never happened. We also want to work smarter, not harder. So thanks for tuning into the More Listings Mastermind. My name is Robert Weichelt. I'm the host. I've been in the real estate industry since 1986. It'll be 40 years this coming Saturday. It blows my mind how time has flown. I've had the privilege of helping thousands of sellers and countless agents achieve success in every type of market. Today, we're going to go into the default market. Broker, trainer, mentor, my mission is simple. Empower others to grow, win, and lead with purpose. My goal is to help agents take more now listings, working with FSBOs, expireds, pre-foreclosure, and we're going to go into that now. So thanks for joining us. I always like to start off with this quote. Now, the Super Bowl was last Sunday, and Vince Lombardi has been always an inspiration of mine. The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. That's one of my favorites. It's literally above my desk in the old framed Vince Lombardi from back in the early 80s. So with that said, today's topic is going to be successfully selling HUD and REO homes. So I appreciate you jumping in. But before we do, I'm going to go over a couple of things that are important in terms of the basics. I can tell you, Tom Brady doesn't just show up and win a Super Bowl. He does a lot of the basics behind the scenes. For example, the 5 habits that will help you grow your real estate business starting today. Number 1 is lead generation. You need to block out 90 minutes every single day for focused prospecting, no exceptions. Number 2, track and measure your numbers. What gets measured gets improved. Tracking and measuring is important. Number 3, setting appointments. A day without a seller or buyer appointment could be a red flag in your business. Number 4, follow up like a pro. 80% of conversions happen in the follow-up. You've heard the term, 4 minutes in the follow-up. And number 5, sharpen your skills. Role play, study scripts like Tom Brady. He runs through his plays, countless, of course, when he was playing. Watch top agent content. You can go to our YouTube channel. You can watch it on Spotify. Here's an interesting stat I wanted to share. Tom Ferry, one of the best coaches in the business, in my opinion. This is the interesting stat that I want to share. 78% of sellers list with the first agent who calls them. That is a really awesome number. If you want to grow your listing inventory, I would certainly learn how to speak to expired sellers. When do they plan on hiring the right agent to sell their home is usually what I like to start with. So we can certainly dive into that more. You can watch me. I'll give you an opportunity to schedule a calendar appointment. Let's talk about the biggest thing here is where are we getting our leads, our seller leads, our FSBOs already trying to sell, our expireds and cancels. They want to sell, but oftentimes they couldn't because their price was probably too high. Typical agent will take a listing at a high price and hope and pray that it sells. Bad strategy. So expireds are great. I told you 78% of these sellers list with the first agent that calls. Those are big numbers, and I think it's important to point out. But today we're going to focus more on the default space, notice of default and notice of price failed, pre and post foreclosure. I always like to start off with this disclosure, if you will. I do not want anyone to lose their home, ever. Not one. However, there's a lot of folks out there, if you're following the notice of default, the pre and post foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, notice of default, notice of trustee sales, you're going to find a very large number. I know in San Diego County, those numbers are growing every single day. So those sellers need our expertise. And not most of them, they want to keep their home. If we come in hot, telling them, trying to convince them that they need to sell their home, that's maybe not the best solution for them. If we can help them right the ship, get their mortgage back on track, that's a good day in the office. Sure, you don't get paid a commission, but guess what? You've helped somebody save their home and you've created a raving fan forever. I tell you, I do it all the time. I talk to all the time, and just about every single one of them wants to look at the solution to keep their home. We need to make sure that we understand how that works. I put in the chat box a 14-day free trial for My Plus Leads. And if you don't have a cash offer solution, going into the expireds and FSBOs, and particularly the pre-foreclosure, if you don't have a cash offer solution, I encourage you to get one. Attract, engage, and convert with more sellers using an instant cash offer platform. 3 to 5 seconds is all it takes to provide a very powerful cash offer. Therefore, you're getting your foot in the door and having a conversation. On the flip side of that coin, if you're talking to a seller that only wants to deal with a cash offer and you don't have that solution, you're out of the conversation. So put in a free trial for My Plus Leads and the iList cash offers platform. Check it out. Now, one thing I want to point out, the number one thing we need to do as a listing agent is we need to drive traffic, first and foremost, drive traffic to the websites, the Zillows, the Redfins, the Trulias, the Realtor.coms, the Homes.coms, etc. This is an example of a Zillow results from a most recent listing. In 14 days, we drove just under 9,000 views. More importantly, we drove 789 saves. That translates into open house traffic like what you see here. This property had 884 guests through the doors. Yes, it was chaos. The cops came. They thought it was a protest. They didn't know what was going on. My point is, drive traffic to your websites and ultimately drive traffic to your by appointment only showings on the weekends. So that's the open house traffic. And I think the biggest thing we want to end with in terms of getting this started is your business efficient and effective? All of my listing appointments, and I have since March of 2020, I do all of my listing appointments via Zoom. I do all my buyer consultations via Zoom, and I meet with all my investors, figuring out what their buy box is, all via Zoom. Carla and I, my wife, we traveled the country for the last 2 years in our RV doing just that, taking listings from anywhere in the country. So I'm not trying to tell you to change your business model, but think a little bit more efficiently and effectively, and at least do the initial consultation via Zoom. With that said, if you want to take more listings, drive more traffic to your properties, I encourage you to click the QR code, take a photo, schedule a one-on-one appointment. Let's take a look under the hood and find out what's going on in your business. And it would be my pleasure to do that. It doesn't cost you anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to know if you want to take your business, your listing business, to another level. I want to be a resource for you. With that said, I always like to give a little bit of bonus. My lender, John Allen, everybody, let's use the football analogy. Everybody has a quarterback. If that quarterback goes down, what do? I encourage you to reach out to John Allen, find out what's going on in the mortgage space. In particular, he's really good at VA and 203K loans. And the reason why I bring up the 203K loan is because that is the loan that's predominantly used in a distressed situation. The house is usually banged up. HUD, for example, they strip the carpet. A lot of times it doesn't even have appliances in it. So you need to have some kind of rehabilitation loan or just pay cash, because conventional, traditional financing won't work for a lot of these properties. So I encourage you to reach out to John and really fine tune. And if nothing else, get him as your backup quarterback. So I always like to bring on my partner, Tim Yates. Tim is the founder of Legacy Listings Pro. We have a workshop we do every Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Tim, welcome to the More Listings Mastermind. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, even though it's a nice rainy day today.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's yesterday was awesome. Today is not so awesome, but it's okay. I'm okay with it. Tim, why don't we do this? Why don't we share with the audience how we're using estate planning to win more listings, and tell us a little bit about Legacy Listings Pro.
Yeah, absolutely. So I founded the firm about a decade ago with my wife Carrie, who is our firm's lead attorney, and we've been focusing on really disrupting, the estate planning industry by working, directly with real estate professionals. And we decided to do it this way because we knew real estate professionals already had a seat at the table. And when you talk about the table, and then you talk about California, and you talk about homeowners, the numbers are what's going to jump out at you. And that's what jumped out at me, and that's what has driven the growth of our firm. So, first and foremost, Robert, you and I talk a lot about these numbers. 87.3% of California homeowners don't have what?
Living trust, my friend.
That's right. What does that equate to numbers wise in your database? How many people is at your database that don't have a living trust?
I would say if I round up, I'd say that's 9 out of 10. That's a pretty awesome opportunity to reach out to your database.
Exactly. And there's a couple of reasons behind it. Number one, estate planning traditionally is very confusing to people, so they're not sure, do I need a trust? Do I need a will? And then secondarily, it's very expensive. It's been very expensive. So we decided to create a system that educates people and makes it affordable. So no longer are we going to have people say, "Hey, Tim, I appreciate the information. I know this is what my family and I need, but we just can't afford it right now, so I'm going to wait." Because when they wait, they never get it done. So that's why we created the Legacy Listings Pro system that you and I are going to be able to start to share with everyone every Tuesday. And we would love to get a lot of people there to just check it out because ultimately, as you know, we're not here to sell anything. It's 100% free. We're not trying to sell you anything outside of giving you this information, giving you the opportunity to become part of our network, to increase your listing presentations and get more deals done.
Amen. And you know what? I equate this to just loading up your tool belt to better prepare you for the sellers, buyers, and investors that are out there. Tim, thank you so much. And I encourage everybody to click the QR code. What it'll do is it'll take you to Tim's form that you just fill out for more information about living trust. I look at it this way. When I close a transaction, usually what I would do is I'd give them a $500 gift card. I'd give them a gift basket. I'd try to customize something towards the client, whether it be a seller, a buyer, or whoever. But I started using the Legacy Listings Pro platform and allowing you get a living trust. I'd much rather have a living trust than a gift basket that's demolished in within the first hour of getting it. So this definitely leaves a legacy, and you become the trusted advisor. That's what I like most about it. Tim, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Robert.
So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about successfully selling HUD and REO homes. A lot of people think, well, that market's not here yet. I assure you, it certainly is. I just closed another REO property. It closed and recorded yesterday, and they're coming. I've already had 5 this year, and we're only just in the beginning of February. We're going to talk about successfully selling HUD homes and how it's going to help you as an agent immediately start driving business to your website, driving business to your calendar. And then we're going to go into REO 101, how to position yourself. Now, selling HUD homes is going to give you an opportunity on how to work with more buyers and position yourself in that space. And then we'll go into the REO 101, how it's going to position you as a listing agent for the REO properties. But before we do that, I found this very interesting. Effective January 1st last year, the Assembly Bill 2424, it talks about foreclosure postponement. Do you know that the homeowner provides a valid listing to the trustee within 5 business days before the sale? The foreclosure is postponed for 45 days. So if you have sellers in your market that are behind, whether it be a notice of default, notice of trustee sale, reach out to them and explain these options. They do not have to bury their head in the sand. They can actually tune in and really find out what's going on. It extends it. There are minimum bid requirements. There's lots of things to do. So I would encourage you to Google or chat California Assembly Bill 2424. It was effective January 1st, 2025 for homeowners in a non-judicial foreclosure process, allowing a 45-day postponement. So check that out. It's super important. So before we do, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to share with you selling HUD homes successfully, and time permitting, we'll jump into the REO portion of it. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to stop sharing this. Let me get out of this part. Give me 1 second. Let's drop that. Let's go here. Let's start sharing the screen here. And give me 1 second. I'm going to share the HUD foreclosure screen. Give me 1 second. Let me know if you can see it okay. Give me 1 second. Here it comes. Tim, can you see it okay? Excellent. Okay, so selling HUD homes. That is basically, this is a program that we need to do because we're a HUD broker. So we need to do these trainings for agents every single month. We do a live training oftentimes. We do it virtual. We do buyer workshops. We do seller workshops. So people are looking to buy more property. So it's what HUD has us mandatory do. We have to send a photo in that we've taken the class, and I'm going to go ahead and take that photo now. And I'm going to go in and dive into HUD. So what is a HUD home? Number one, it's a 1 to 4 single family unit. So it could be a single family home, a condo. It could be a fourplex. My brother and I back in the 90s bought a lot of fourplexes, and you can buy a HUD home, live in one, rent the other 3 out. It's a great way to go. These HUD homes, just so we're clear, are sold in as-is condition. Oftentimes there's no flooring. They tear the old carpet up and they don't replace it. They obviously remove the tack strips. They make it health and safety, but sometimes there's broken windows. They're boarded up. Sometimes there's no appliances. So that's why it was important to reach out to John Allen to do the 203K. So these are as-is properties. There's no warranties. There's no request for repairs. So if you're buying a HUD home, you need to know that it is as is. They literally have an addendum that says, what part of as is do you not understand? It's as is. So know that going in. Sales process, let's go into that. Who can sell a HUD home? Any licensed agent can sell a HUD home. Now, it's the brokerage that's approved, not the listing agent. I mean, not the buyer agent. It's the brokerage. So if you're with a brokerage that's not approved as a HUD broker, you need to encourage them to go in. It takes just a few minutes, but the broker needs to register with HUD. And then once the HUD's approved, they'll get an NAID number that allows them to place bids on HUD properties. You'll get an NID package. It comes to your regional home center. It'll come to you. We need to make sure that if you decide to want to start selling HUD homes, limited inventory right now, but we're preparing for the future. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks. So if you find a HUD property, like you get off this webinar and you go, I'm going to go sell a bunch of HUD homes, but you're not approved, it can take 6 to 8 weeks to get approved. So make sure you get the approval process done first. And it also needs to be done annually. Every year you need to reapply. It takes like 3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't take a long time, but it's something you need to be aware of. Now, who can buy a HUD home? Anyone. Here's the 3 categories. First is owner occupancy. HUD wants to get owner occupied into those properties first and foremost. Investors will have their shot after the owner occupied pool's been fully vetted. Investors, government agencies. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the government agencies, the Good Neighbor Next Door program, and nonprofits. Owner occupied is somebody that's going to be given priority without a doubt. They must occupy the home for 1 year. They cannot participate in a HUD sale for 2 years after the purchase. For example, you buy a HUD home, you can certainly buy another one, but you have to wait 2 years after that. Investors then will be given the opportunity after the owner occupied. Now, the benefits of buying a HUD home, the HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing costs. You need to negotiate the contract up front. That's a big deal. It's a HUD, a townhome, if the project's approved or not. If it's a HUD foreclosure, a HUD home, then it will go out to owner occupieds first, then investors, and then they'll open it up to the nonprofits. With that said, here's some of the benefits of buying HUD home. I'm going to spend particularly most of my time on the Good Neighbor Next Door program. But you can go to HUDhomestore.com and find out where these properties are. You can go type in the city which you're looking, and it'll pull up all the properties in your area. I think we have, last time I looked, like 6 properties in all of California. So there's not a lot of them yet. But I look at it as a train going into the station. It slows down, lets the folks on, then the new people get on, and then the train starts to slowly leave the train station, and then it starts gaining momentum. It's hard to catch a train that's at full speed. You need to get on it before it takes to leave the station. Okay. HUD special programs. The Good Neighbor Next Door is the absolute greatest way to go. It's in opportunity zones. So the Good Neighbor Next Door and HUD nonprofits are usually get first crack, then owner occupieds, then investors, just in that order. Good Neighbor Next Door. My son's a firefighter paramedic. He qualifies for a Good Neighbor Next Door. Firefighters, EMT, police, teachers. Now, a lot of people say, what about this? What about that? Go to the HUDhomestore.com to see if your like Border Patrol gets a lot. Teachers, obviously, nurses. So make sure that you go in there and see if your specific client's looking for it. Here's the benefit. Let's say the home is listed for 500,000. The Good Neighbor Next Door, let's call it a firefighter, they get that property if they win the bid, 50% from the sales price. So let's take the $500,000 home. That Good Neighbor Next Door platform allows them to get it for $250,000, 50% off the actual sales price, and they only need $100 down. They are in designated revitalization areas like the opportunity zones. So FYI, but also they need to live, whoever that buyer is, if they take advantage of this platform, they need to live in the property for 36 months. So it can't be just one of those, I'll live in there for a little bit and then rent it out. It needs to be owner occupied for 36 months. Okay. So that's a big deal. It must be 100% of the bid. For example, if that's $500,000 sales price, they can't write for 250. Their offer has to be for 500,000. Then when it gets to close, they have to qualify for the taxes and insurance and all that at a $500,000 purchase. It closes and their sales price is only 250. Big deal. Now, bidding on homes, again, you need to be into the system. You need to be approved with HUD. Doesn't cost anything, but you need to have a profile set up and approved with all the documentation verified, agent's license, broker's license, insurance, and all of that. HUDhomestore.com, and it'll get you all the information. Again, it takes a little bit of time, but once you're approved, it's ready to go. Here's the portal. Once you go to it, you'll see the NAID application portal. Go there, and it'll literally tell you everything that you need, to get that. It's super simple, guys. Super simple. Now, you need IRS documentation or social security card. You need a copy for driver's license, real estate broker, state license, so on and so forth. It'll walk you through it all. So I'm going to buzz through this real quick because you just go to HUDhomestore.com and it'll tell you everything you need to do. Got it? Okay. Now, here's the other HUDhomestore.com. Let's see. Here's some other things you might want to look at when you go to bid on a home. Now, when you're in the website, once you're already approved with HUD to bid, and selling agents are able to bid, you go to the bidder tab, which is pointing right to it. Go to the bidder tab. They'll need your broker's license active, NAID number, state license, email, and phone number to register as a buyer agent to represent a buyer. Now, again, HUDhomestore.com. You can go to search properties. You type in the city, zip, whatever you're looking for, and it'll tell you everything that's available in that area. Now, pre-approved. Yeah, buyers. Typically, a HUD buyer is not going to be paying cash for a home, so they do need to be pre-approved. Like in any other transaction, they need a pre-approval letter. They need, if it's a cash sale, they need to verify funds. But I don't see a lot of HUD homes being sold all cash because the end user, the Good Neighbor Next Door, then the owner occupant. Sure, you'll see cash offers on an investor, but usually in a homeowner, you're gonna get a financed property. Now, what do you need on the pre-approval letter? You need to have the purchaser's name obvious. This is all rhetorical. A lot of it is redundant, but it is what it is. Purchaser's name, the loan amount in which they're pre-approved. For instance, if you're writing the offer, you're presenting the offer at a $500,000 purchase price, make sure that loan approval is based on that $500,000 pre-approval. Does that make sense? It's all common sense, but you'd be amazed. Here's a big deal. A lot of times when I sell listings, and there's some delays and the buyers need to move out of their home so they can move into their new home, but there was a delay in the loan, let's say. People always like to say, can we move into the garage? No, you cannot. And you cannot do any repairs. Like I mentioned, the carpet, the paint, all those things that are missing in a home, a lot of times what happens is if it's getting conventional financing, but the appraiser calls out conditions like no carpet, you cannot do any repairs to this home. So you need to plan ahead. Does that make sense? Um, Lottery round 7 days before the general market. Good neighbor next door, you can have 7 days. It's just them. It's only available. So if you're an owner occupant, you cannot place an offer on a HUD home until after that lottery round for the good neighbor next door. So it's 7 days, only government agencies, nonprofits, and the good neighbor next door. Now, bidding periods. Once it's open to come through the good neighbor next door, and let's say nobody decided to buy it, which they'd be foolish not to. Let's say it opens it up to the owner occupiers. They have 15 days, an exclusive 15-day window for owner occupants. Hope that's making sense. And I'll forward this presentation to anybody that wants to see follow along. Closing costs. HUD will pay up to 3% of the purchase price to go towards closing costs and agent compensation. So if you want 3% closing costs, you're basically spending your all 3% on the buyer's closing costs. If you want to give your buyer some closing cost credit, remember it's going to come out of your 3%. Make sure that's very clear. I've seen it mess some people up. The minimum commission is is 1,000. That's on a $33,000 price. Yes, there's a lot of properties out there, not in California, but a lot of properties. I saw last time around in Michigan, they were selling properties for like $5,000. So there's a minimum of 1%. HUD will pay up to 3% selling broker compensation for all their properties, up to, and it's got to be written in the contract. Here's something that's super important. This is not like traditional real estate. They do not counter a counter, they meaning HUD. For example, you write an offer on a home, they send you back a counter offer. You can't counter that offer. It's an accept or reject. So unlike traditional real estate, you're not playing tennis back and forth. It's here's a take it or leave it. So they do not counter a counter. Hopefully that makes sense. Now you can go in once you've placed an offer, you can go in and see the accepted bid. That's fully transparent. You'll see exactly what HUD took, what buyer they went with, what sales price it was. Because I know a lot of times if you did not get the property, the buyer's going to want to know. You go to the accepted bids tab and they'll let you know. So now once you're under contract, absolutely highly recommended, not mandatory, but highly recommended that the buyers do a home inspection. The home inspection is for the buyer's FYI. It's not for a laundry list like typical agents like to do. Oh yeah, let me do a home inspection and ask for a bunch of repairs. That's not how it works. It is as is. You have 15 days to complete the due diligence period for owner occupies. If you waive that, that's fine, but just know they're not going to do any repairs. So the home inspection is for a buyer's FYI only. Buyers cannot move in or start repairs prior. They really want to stress that, so they bring it up a couple of times. So here's the closing protocol. If you're submitting an offer to HUD, FHA and conventional, they want you to write the close of escrow for 45 days. The reason being, because they don't want extensions. So if you say you're going to close it in this many days and you can't do it, getting an extension is an act of Congress, literally. Cash closing, they want 30 days. But Robert, I can close in 10, cash offer. They want the offer to be 30 days. So it's basically look at it as an honor before. And of course, if you're doing a 2 or 3K loan, those take a little bit longer time. They want to see a 60 days in their contract. Now, here's some extensions on the property cost. If it's typically, we're not even going to mess with the 0 to 50,000. Every property that we have, let's say in California, now the prices may vary across the country, but I don't know of any home selling for 50,000. You need a 15. If you need 1 day, you get 15. You buy 15. For example, it's $25 per day for an extension, and it's a 15-day increment. So you buy 15-day increments, cost you $375. And before you can get an extension, there must be a cashier's check sent to HUD directly, then they'll grant an extension. So good rule of thumb, don't ask for an extension. So I think the biggest thing to remember is plan ahead. Nothing moves real fast with HUD. Post-closing, buyer can now go in there and turn the power on because when the power's off, utilities are off of these properties. So if you want to do a home inspection, you need to let us know, and then we'll give you, we'll put on the power for that 24-hour period, and then it's turned back off. So you'll need to turn the utilities back on. The keys will not be given. Uh, get access, but these are HUD keys with the same key cut, so everybody has this key. So it's absolutely important that the buyers rekey the property right away. That goes with any property, in my personal opinion. You always want to rekey. So here's the big takeaway, and this is what I had to get that stuff out of the way to get you to this. This is the key. May I advertise HUD Homes? You bet. You can go into the HUD Home store right now, pick a property, and start promoting it to your database. Hey, who are my firefighters, my paramedics, my nurses, my EMTs? Who are my good neighbor next door candidates? We can help you purchase a home 50% off. For more information, please get a hold of me. Do you think your phone can start ringing? You bet it can. It'll absolutely ring off the hook. I've done it, and I don't work a lot of buyers. I'm telling you what, it works. You can take any property as long as there's certain guidelines, and I'll walk you through that. You can advertise any of the HUD homes. You don't have to ask. You don't have to go, can I advertise your property? Nope. Pick a property and start advertising it. You need to do it professionally. You need to do it ethically, and you need to do it in a positive manner. There are certain things you cannot say. You can't say HUD foreclosure. It has to be called HUD homes or HUD owned or HUD acquired. Okay. You always have to include the equal housing opportunity logo and statement in all your marketing, your flyers, your websites, and all of that. That's the equal housing opportunity logo there that you need. Advertising guidelines. Go to the property, make sure you put the key in the lockbox. I would recommend, if you see a property that you'd like to market, go market it. Take some photos of the property, learn the property. Make sure you return the key. That makes sense? That's kind of a thing. Now, here are the things you cannot do. Can't advertise before the home's listed. A lot of people will get notice that there's a HUD foreclosure coming up. You cannot market it until it's on the HUD website. Go to HUDhomestore.com to find out which properties you can advertise. If it shows up as active, you can advertise that property. Now, you cannot refer to, like I mentioned, as distressed, repo, foreclosed, repossession, must sell. It can't have any of that kind of language. Please don't destroy or remove any of the advertising in the windows. We have disclosures in the windows, notification that this is a HUD property. Keep that information there. I've had people take those off so they can take their photos, and yeah, don't do that. But here's what you can do. I don't know anyone that advertises in the newspaper anymore, but you certainly can. Home magazines, flyers, billboards, seminars, social media, internet, postcards, message boards, email. You can blast it on all your social media. You can send it out all over the place. So I would personally go to the HUDhomestore.com and take the good neighbor next door, pick a property and say, we've got a great property. If you're looking to buy in this city, this area, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, if you're a fireman, and go into the good neighbor next door who can qualify for that and start putting out to your database, start generating conversations. Does that make sense? So with that said, are there any questions on the HUD platform? We'll go over that here in a moment. We'll go over, write your questions down, put them in the chat box, do whatever you need to do. But we're going to go on to the next REO 101, and then we'll answer questions at the end. Sound good? Good. Let me shorten this up. Let me move this, and let me go to the next part. And this is something that is a lot of people don't think that the REO market's coming back anytime soon. Everyone's got equity. I got news for you. I just talked to 2 sellers just this week that are short sale candidates. They want to sell. They have to sell. Usually what I'm finding is they're non-owner occupied, they're tenant occupied, they might be vacant. The 2 that I have are both vacant properties looking for tenants that just didn't work out. Position yourself. This is a positioning thing. We need to make sure that we're prepared and ready. Remember that bullet train I was talking about coming through the station? When that train takes off and it gains momentum, it's going to be very hard for you to get on that REO train. Now, why do I talk about REO? Well, let me tell you, I've been in the business since 1986, like I mentioned earlier. But more importantly, we were doing BPOs, broker price opinions, back in the early 90s. And I call it the glue stick era. We'd be given, the bank will give us a property. Here's 123 Main Street. We go check occupancy. Once we check occupancy, if it's vacant, we put our BPO together. What we would do is we go inspect the property. We'd take our photos. We'd literally drive to the 1 hour photo map back in the day. I know I'm dating myself. We'd go to the 1 hour photo. We'd wait there patiently and try to, sell the person doing the photos how wonderful you are so they can hurry it up. Then we'd go back to the office. We'd get out our typewriter. We'd get our legal size paper because that's what the BPOs are on. We type our BPO. We get out a photo addendum, and we glue stick our photos right to the photo addendum. Fast forward the early 2000s, it was a little different than that. I was approved with 44 banks and REO companies. Many of those I still have contact with, doing BPOs with still today. Scored 1% with Freddie Mac. The reason why I point that out, Freddie Mac is the toughest account to maintain. They are the most demanding. I scored a 1%. 1% means good, 10% means you're fired. Reason why I bring that up, every single BPO and REO company, they grade your score on everything. So make sure you do a good job. Do a great job with your BPOs. We're going to go into how important that is. So with that said, let me keep diving in. The reason why I like to bring up the REO platform is because we're always looking for coachable, dedicated agents nationwide. I have 11 different asset management companies I've just counted this morning that call me on a regular basis. Robert, who do you have here? Robert, who do you have here? I just had one for Dover, Delaware. I got to be honest, I didn't even know where Dover, Delaware. What's that? My point is, I just gave out 5 listings in Philadelphia, in Boston, over the country. So make sure, that's why I asked you to put your city and state in the chat so I can make sure I'm building relationships with the folks that are getting paid and certified. Now, today's agenda is more about REOs. Are they viable? They're becoming viable. Yes, they are. Are you positioned? Well, I can tell you this, if you're not signed up for Equator, ResNet, Pyramid, we'll go into this in a minute, that means you're not positioned. That means they have no idea who you are. This is not like regular real estate. They see a cute social media post and go, oh, I'm going to give that guy 10 listings. Not going to happen. We're going to go over the 6 steps to REO success, and we're going to go into how to position yourself for the REO business. Basically. So, the opportunities still exist. They absolutely do. REO Service are recruiting agents now. They're looking for agents to do their BPO work. The reason why they're doing their BPO work is because that's how they know who the good agents are. So when the REO assignments show up, they know who they're going to. The last one they're going to send a listing to is somebody that doesn't know how to do a BPO. If you can't do a BPO, you're not going to get an REO listing. That's just the way that works. Assignments still exist. Like I mentioned, I just closed one yesterday. I've got a couple more that I'm getting that are in occupancy status. That means their tenants are in the process of figuring it out with the bank if they're going to get cash for keys. So is it going to come in a tsunami or a constant set of waves? I've seen both. I've seen where they dumped 60 listings on us in a week. Was averaging 385 active listings during the REO market last time. So they can really gain some momentum with your pipeline. So steps to REO success. Number 1, do you have an REO resume? I'll go into a little bit more details now. These are the 6 things we're going to go over today. REO resume, you need to register with the banks. You need to start accepting BPOs. If you want to be in this space, you need to start accepting BPOs. Are you on the REO portals like I mentioned, Equator, ResNet, Pyramid? Those are the big 3. You need to be on there. You need to have a profile. I recommend you get a free profile first. Don't spend a bunch of money on the come. I would get a presence for no charge. They all want to upgrade you, but get a presence for no charge. You need to complete a Rockstar BPO. You really need to know how to price a property. If you're a listing agent, if you've ever taken a listing, or you work with a buyer agent. So our job is to know how to value properties. You're not going to take a listing that's overpriced because it's a bad thing to do. You need to tell the seller exactly what their home's going to sell for, and you need to show them exactly why it's going to sell for them. Same thing with a buyer. You don't just say, oh yeah, it's listed at 1.2 million. Let's go write an offer. No, you need to run the value comps on that property before you confidently can write that offer. Just because it's listed at 1.2 doesn't mean it's worth it. We're going to tell you all the moving parts, cradle to grave. REO has a lot of moving parts. We're going to go into that. We're going to talk about cash for keys. That's a big deal. Learning how to negotiate cash for keys for tenants is a big thing. And number 6, property preservation. This is where you reach out to your vendors and make sure your vendors are on standby. Carpet, paint, rekey, new windows, yard, trash up. There's a lot of people you need to get involved. If you've ever done any kind of property management, or managed a listing that is kind of banged up before it got to market. There's some things you need to do before it goes. So property preservation is a big deal. Yeah, there's some expenses. Let's just be clear. There's some expenses you need to pay. For example, I just picked up a new listing in Scripps Ranch, about a $1.35 million home. It's tenant occupied, but once it becomes vacant, the seller has requested me turn on the utilities in my name. I do it in my corporate name. It's not a big deal. There's not a lot of usage going on, so it's not a lot of expense, but it's still an expense that you would need to pay as an agent. I had 86 listings on one property. You need to have a system. Once it gets to that system, because some banks, they want all 86 offers. Oh my goodness, that's brutal. And a lot of them want the top five, but if they want all offers, you need to get them all offers. And of course, if you don't have a good transaction coordinator, you're missing the boat. If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. With that said, let's go into the agent challenges. This is the big thing. Most of these sellers are out of area. They're not here. They don't know. You're their eyes and ears. You need to be their eyes and ears so they can say, Robert, what's going on in the market in terms of rent? The reason why they ask you that is because they want to be able to offer a legitimate cash for keys. They're not just going to throw a number out there. What's the market telling you? And you need to be the boots on the ground. Change your bank procedures. You need to really pay attention to that. Getting the business is the hardest part. And I have a list of every single REO and BPO company available. It's up to date and ready to rock and roll for the clients that I coach, train, and mentor. Financial resources, I talked about paying utilities. You need to have I would recommend you set up an account and earmark it just for REO. Throw $100 in there and let it sit there. And if you get a closing, put another couple $100 in there. You get another closing, put a couple $100 in there. And then when that comes up, it's not going to be so painful on your wallet when they ask you to pay for the rekey of $600. It's going to be no problem. Here you go, and then you get it paid back. Make sense? You need to stand out. And by standing out, I mean do a great BPO. Communicating with this the seller. Really pay attention and know what the banks score on. Don't leave your BPOs blank. I'll dive into that here in a minute. Here's the skills that listing agents and buyer agents alike already should have. They should already know how to evaluate a property, come up with a price, and show the seller exactly why you came up with that price, how you came up with that price. You need to really be good at explaining the 3 actives, the 3 solds, the 3 pendings, if that applies. Vacating a property, helping people with cash for keys, negotiating. Because the longer they're in there, the more expense it has for the seller. If you're good at negotiating cash for keys, that's going to be very helpful for the bank. Managing that property is similar to a property management situation. It's a lot like property management. From the time you get the assignment to the time it goes live, there's a lot of moving parts before you even get it to go to market. Of course, we should all have some listing experience, but it's not mandatory. Agents out there that have no REO experience usually go, oh, I don't have any experience, so never mind. Absolutely get involved and register for these banks. And I'll show you a little bit about how to do that. Of course, marketing and selling, if you don't know how to do that, you probably shouldn't be in real estate. Here's some farming sites. These are something, take a screenshot, do whatever you want, but go to foreclosure.com, get all the latest and greatest and stats, what's happening in the foreclosure space. Go to Property Radar, Realty Track, Lane Guide. I use personally My Plus Leads. I put a link in the chat earlier. My Plus Leads, I get FSBOs and expireds, but I get notice of default and lifetime, guys, and notice of trustee sales. Remember, the notice of trustee sales, those are sellers that are staring down the barrel of a foreclosure. We want to reach out to them. We want to help them, get back on track would be awesome, but many of them cannot. And if they want to lose that equity and just kind of bury their head in the sand, that's what most of them do. And that's what happens. We don't want to do that. We want to reach out. I use My Plus Leads. It's the best for me for notice of default and notice of trustees. Now, I mentioned ResNet earlier, res.net. Go to ResNet, create a profile. Don't pay for the upgraded one yet because you don't need it. Go to Equator, Pyramid, do the same thing. Now what you need to do is also go to reonetwork.com, fill out a profile. It's free. Now you can, just like all these others, you can upgrade, but I would recommend you go to the other agents in your market, see their profile so you know how to fill it out. Look at the ones that make sense for you. There's a lot of people that don't know how to fill this out. You can go to mine if you want. Go to mine. Type in San Diego. Type in Robert Weichelt to see my profile. Go to reonetwork.com and set up your profile. It doesn't cost. Now, here are the important resources. And this is, remember, this is default. We're talking about default market, right? DS News, 5-star. They changed their name to, I think, Mortgage Point. You get my point. Go to dsnews.com. They also run the 5-star conference, which is one of the granddaddies of them all. Big default conference where asset managers, eviction attorneys, agents, and everybody in the default space kind of go. I personally would recommend going to defaultpro.org. NADP, National Association of Default Professionals. That, in my opinion, that's the best one out there for education on the default space. Go to REO Alliance. It's a Facebook group. You can go in there and find out what's going on, who's hiring, who's firing, what banks are going on, what's happening. And again, we have a third Thursday REO Mastermind. If you want to be invited to that, I encourage you to reach out. Now, let's talk about your resume real quick. I don't want to bore you with resume, but I'm going to talk to you about this important tool. Your resume is a marketing tool. It's a copy and paste document. It's not something you sit across the desk and say, here's my resume, and you wait there with your hands crossed while he's going over your resume. That's not what it is. It's a copy and paste document. When they want your zip code, copy, paste. When they want your marketing plan, copy, paste. Does that make sense? Why should we give you listings? That's the question that the banks want to know. Why would I use you, Mike? Why would I use you, Chris? Why would I use you, Tim? You get my point? Tell them why they need to work with you. How do you stand out from the rest? What does your resume look like in terms of gross sales? I would add up every home you've ever been a part of in terms of transactions, whether it's real estate, commercial, buying, selling, investing, leasing, everything you've ever done, put it on your resume, gross sales volume. REO experience, do you have any? Did you go to the REO certification? The EXP has great certification. Bubba Mills has amazing training. Bob Morrell, there's a lot of great training out there, but one word of caution, there's a lot of bad training too. It's called a money grab, a lot of money grabs out there, so be careful. If you have any questions about REO or default, reach out to me and I'll absolutely walk you through that. You have an REO marketing plan. You know what an REO marketing plan is? It's just like what your normal marketing plan is, but it's REO specific. It's driven to people that are looking to buy that REO space. I can't tell you how many times I get agents or investors calling me up. Do you have any foreclosure? Do you have any REO properties? Happens all the time. REO services, you got to let the asset manager know that you know how to manage a rekey, a trash out, initial clean, initial yard. Most of these homes are banged up. We need to know that they can count on you to help guide that. Many of these banks have national renovation companies doing the work, but you still need to manage it. The biggest thing I would recommend, know your zip codes. I'm San Diego County. I took every single zip code in San Diego County, put it on a Word document, so I just copy and paste it to the platform. Does that make sense? Okay. Here's what a resume, normal resume for an agent, Joe agent, basic real estate company, GRS, GRI, PN. It's like alphabet soup. That's fine. But if you look at it, it doesn't really say anything about your default experience. What we need to do is we need to turn it into an REO resume. You know, let them know that you're a specialist in the default assets division. You have REO services and related experience. For example, 203K loans, like I mentioned John Allen earlier. Do you have a 203K loan option? A lot of these properties are banged up. Do you have a rekey, trash out, repairs, board up? Do you have those vendors at your disposal? Can you get to them right away, real quick? Not, oh yeah, the contractor's 3 months out. That doesn't work. We need somebody that can take action right now. Zip code. Make sure your zip codes are on your resume. So make sure that this information is in here. Inventory management. I'm going to point on that real quick. Inventory management lets the bank know that you can handle volume. I can tell you in the REO space, they don't just give you one, here you go, thanks for playing. They may in the beginning, and if you do a great job, here's 4 more, here's 10 more, here's 60 this week. It's crazy. My point is, trained back office and field team, they give them the confidence that they need to have to give you multiple listings. Okay? So I would personally create an REO identity. So if you're using, let's say your business name is American Realty, have a separate business name like I have, San Diego REO Partners. Now I'm the Weichelt Group for my residential commercial real estate and lending, but San Diego REO Partners is my REO arm. Anytime I'm communicating with an asset manager or anybody in the default space, I use San Diego REO Partners. Have a separate email. I know it's a little confusing. Sometimes it gets to the point where you need a separate cell phone because I cannot tell you how my phone rings off the hook with your Google page on all this, all these. Ah, if you don't answer the phone from when an asset manager calls you, they're going to go to somebody else. So I would recommend you maybe even have a different cell phone. Email signature, have a different email signature when you're sending out clients because you don't want to send your buyers and sellers that you're an REO specialist. That scares most people. Like, oh my God, I'm not in a foreclosure. I can't use that person. I'm not a foreclosure. You need to have a separate identity. Okay? Now, when you go to these platforms or you're trying to sign up for them, they're going to ask you a lot of them, do you have 5 years of real estate experience? Most people that are signing up for REOs have 5 years of experience, but they also ask you if you have 3 years plus in REO experience. And I tell you what, for the most part, most agents don't have any REO experience because the REO market was 20 years ago. 2004, 5, 6 is when it was popping. 8, 9, 10 is when it was winding down. So you weren't doing in the business. If say you just got in the business during that time, you more than likely weren't selling REOs. You were probably representing the buyer, but you didn't have any listing experience. Ain't no mind to this is my point. Sign up anyway. Register for every single REO asset management company you can find. I do have a list, and if you want to reach out to me, I'd certainly go over that. You need to be trained and certified how to speak REO. If you go to an REO asset manager and say, yeah, do you have any REOs? That means you don't know what the acronym is. You don't know how to say it. So you need to understand, you need to speak REO. You need to have the financial resources like I talked about, and you need to implement and follow systems. Now, here's a story I like to say. This is the kind of agent that banks are looking for. I had a Freddie Mac listing in Spring Valley, Dictionary Hill. If you know anything about Dictionary Hill, it literally is straight up and down. They're building on the sides of mountains. And I go up to this property. I literally tried to drive my car, but I didn't feel comfortable because the driveway, if I put the parking brake on, I felt like it was just going to fly down the hill. So I walked up this hill and I got up to this property and I see this bus. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this bus? This property's already been vacant. Every single seller that when I go to a property, if they're not home, they've left and they always leave what they don't want behind. Well, they didn't want this bus, but I'm thinking, how do they get it up there? It doesn't matter. I need to come up with a solution for my asset manager saying, hi, Mr. Asset Manager, the property at 123 Main Street we did the inspection. Here's some things to point out. It had a bus. What I didn't do is say, we have a bus. What do you want to do? You need to do is it has a bus on the property, which needs to obviously be removed. Here are the solutions that we've come up with. We're not going to drive it down the hill. It doesn't run. You're going to tow it out of there. That was almost impossible. So my contractor and I put our heads together. We thought outside the bus and we figured out a way to cut it up in bite-sized pieces and take it out one bite at a time, like you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So you need to call back your asset manager, not only with the problem, but have the solution. You need to be a solution-based realtor, period. Now, what about getting business? Because we're closing up here. We're almost finished. Where are we going to get the business? We're going to get the business from mortgage lenders and servicers. We're going to get them from credit unions. Not as many credit union transactions going on because they're scrutinized their borrowers more. Definitely going to see HUD, VA, the government, low barrier of entry, really. So minimal equity in the market shifts a little bit. They're already upside down. But most of the business is going to come from asset management companies. You're going to get business from hedge funds. There's a lot of opportunities out there, so you need to pay attention. Now, we talked about HUD earlier, and that's you as a buyer agent. With REO, our goal is to present you with a way to get into the REO space as a listing agent. Okay? So here's a couple of ways to do it. Do the BPOs. Start signing up for BPOs. You're going to do a BPO on a notice of default. It gives you an idea of what's going on with that property. You do the notice of default BPO, then you're in the database of the asset manager, and they go, hey, Robert, you did a BPO for us at 123 Buckwheat Trail. You did a great job. I've got another one at 122 Buckwheat Trail. I've got another one, and then you're in their database. Doing for short sales. I'm getting short sale requests all the time. PMI removal. Of course, the REO listings, just so we're clear, you don't get paid. If somebody gives you an REO assignment, you don't get compensated to do the BPO. I'm okay with that. You can earn between $50 and $75 for a BPO, but you need to make your BPO shine. That's a big deal. The assignment, let's talk about the assignment, the initial site inspection, permanent occupancy. There's a lot of things you need to do. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because at the end of the day, you need to sign up, do BPOs. You need to sign up with the portals I told you, Equator, ResNet, Pyramid. You need to sign up with reonetwork.com, get a presence, get understanding, start plugging into the different resources that I shared with you. There's a couple things that I like to go over when you see an REO property in closing. What do you mean I have to evict them? You're not playing an eviction attorney. You just have to have a conversation with the occupant and be the go-between between the eviction coordinator and the tenant. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. How in the world, I don't know who started this, but they started putting cement in the toilets. Most of these occupants, previous owner or a tenant, they're not real pleased with the reservations to move. They don't want to do it, so they're a lot of times the sellers, they'll take out floorboards, they'll take out I've seen somebody take all the baseboards and the copper piping and just completely go nuts. Another question that startles agents, I have to pay the utility bills? Yeah, you certainly do. It's not a lot of money. That's why you want to set up that account. Have an account, $100, $200 every time you get a closing, set up an account, be a resource, say yes more. I always like to tell this story. My son, when he was 5 years old, he wanted to get a motorcycle. Never ridden a motorcycle before, and I was like in my early 30s. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get one. I gonna ride alone, right? So I bought a motorcycle. My buddy and I, we bought our kids 5-year-old motorcycles. They didn't know how to ride it, and I certainly was going to kill myself if I didn't learn. Like the REO market, it's something that you need to learn, but once you do, it's not hard. It's a fantastic way to go. Corporate sellers need help too. We want homeowners to sell, but we also, the corporate sellers need help. I was a trained REO agent, meaning I ended up learning how to I raced at Qualcomm Stadium and I raced the amateur circuit with Supercross. So my point in telling you that, I went from not knowing how to ride a motorcycle and I was surely going to kill myself to a veteran knowing how to do it. That's what you need to do with REO. Now, you can make money in BPOs, REO listings, double ending closings, and you become the market expert. So there's lots of opportunities when you're working in the REO space. Now, here's some other tidbits of things we need to do. You need to work the FSBOs. You need to work the expireds. You work your personal database, because if you don't work your personal database, someone else certainly will. Likely to move, to give your title company, investors, builders, the list goes on. My point is, there's lots of ways to get business. Today is about HUD working with buyers, promoting it, getting that word out, getting trained and certified, and getting the REO 101 phase, getting positioned. But make sure you're growing your listing business, having conversations with sellers. And so at the end of the day, the opportunity gap is still there. My point is, you've recognized that it's an opportunity. You just need to understand the challenges. How do you bridge the gap? Get trained, get educated, go to proper training, whether it be Bubba Mills, whether it be Bob Morrell, NADP. There's lots of great training out there, because at the end of the day, guys, we're looking for coachable, dedicated agents nationwide to send REO business to. If we call you up and say, hey, Tim, I got a new listing for you. Here you go. Would that excite you? Would that change your business in any way? If it would, then you reach out. I would encourage you to reach out to me. Schedule a time. Let's take a look under the hood, whether it's working with FSBOs, expireds, pre-foreclosures, working with HUD, getting positioned for REO. I recommend you reach out. And with that said, I want to thank you for tuning in today. And this is the More Listings Mastermind. We talked about successfully selling HUD homes. We talked about positioning for REO. I'm going to stop recording, and then we can go to Q&A. So I want to thank you for joining the More Listings Mastermind today. This is your host, Robert Weichelt, with another episode of the More Listings Mastermind. Join us each Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Go to morenowlistings.com. And remember, guys, we'll see you in escrow.